Learn more about the victims. We're also hearing heroic stories from survivors and Good Samaritans. My colleague, Vladimir Duthiers, is in Las Vegas. Tell us, Vlad, about what it is that you have seen and heard since you've arrived there.
Elaine, one of the things that really struck me, and it's something that when I had an opportunity to speak to Congresswoman Dina Titus, who represents this district, something that a lot of people who are not from the area never think about, because this is Sin City. This is a fun town. This is where people go to have fun, to enjoy their friends, their family. And yet she said Las Vegas, believe it or not, Vlad, is a community. And what we've seen in the wake of this horrific attack is this community coming together. As you're aware, Elaine, there have been vigils that have been sprouting up all over the city, candlelight vigils, memorials to those that have died. You just read off the names of some of those victims, and I think it's very important as we continue to do our reporting from here that we continue to honor the lives of those victims that were taken by this horrific person, what the President of the United States, Donald Trump, called a pure act of evil. And so we've seen that. We've seen people saying to us, look, this is going to make us strong. We're not going to let the actions of this individual ruin the way we behave as citizens of this city.
Vlad, you mentioned the vigils. What about, we've been hearing reports of long lines for people who want to donate blood. What are you hearing about that?
7,000 people, Elaine, lined up at one point, according to Congresswoman Titus, to give blood. At one point, the Las Vegas Police Department said, look, thank you all so much for all of these donations, for bringing sandwiches and coffee to our police officers. It might actually be too much. We're being inundated with the love and the gratitude. And let's just think about what these officers did. Within the space of just a few minutes, when they realized that they could see the muzzle flash from the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which you can see right behind me here, Elaine, they were able to ascertain where the gunman was as people were fleeing down this street. There are still police officers stationed at either end of the street. You can see a few of them back here. And it not only serves to paint a picture for what happened here on Sunday night, but right where we're standing, Elaine, we can actually see right at our live shot position, there are still large drops of blood because people came running from that area straight down this road, past this church that you see behind me, into the arms of first responders, paramedics, and other strangers who had just gathered here to enjoy a night of music and fun.
It's just horrific, Vlad, to imagine that scene. I know you've been talking to victims and also people who set aside any concerns about their own safety to help victims, and we're going to hear some of your interview with a few of them later in the show. But I'm curious, what are the stories that have really struck you?
The one that really struck me as we did an interview, which I know you're going to show a little bit later in your show, with Mark Lacey and his wife and a friend of theirs. They were attending the concert. They were actually in the VIP area, which means they were very, very close to the stage. And when the shots rang out, Mark tells me that he thought, just like everybody else, that this was part of the show, that these were fireworks. But get this, Elaine, Mark is a Air National Guardsman with the Air Force. He is in the military. He has served in actual war zones. And when he realized that there were shots that were being rained down upon them, he at one point he was standing next to somebody who got shot in the head, and that's when he told his wife and his friend to get on the ground. And get this, Elaine, what he started to do is he told his wife, stay put, stay covered, and he started trying to rescue people that were even further or closer to the Mandalay Bay than even he was. And ultimately, he ended up rescuing and bringing some 20 people to the area you see right behind me, where we are standing right now. And I asked his wife, Misty, I said, were you scared when you realized that this volley of gunfire hadn't stopped? And she said, the adrenaline, it's what everybody says when they're faced with really life or death circumstances. She says, the adrenaline and the fact that my husband said, look, we've got to help people, that allowed them to power through. And I said to them, a lot of people think of you as heroes. And he said, I'm just an ordinary guy who did what ordinary people do in extraordinary circumstances, Elaine.
Well, Vladimir Duthiers in Las Vegas, just absolutely compelling stories that we're hearing. Thanks so much, Vlad.